Ladies and gentlemen, Lighter is finally here in Zenless Zone Zero, and if you've been looking for a character who can buff both your fire and ice agents, you might want to pull for him. In this video, I'm going to tell you what materials you're going to need, best W engines and drive discs to pair with them, what skills prioritize, best teams, and more. Right off the bat, if you are debating on pulling for him, he does have a very strong stun capability, which means he builds up that daze meter very quickly, which means the enemy can get stunned a lot faster. Number 2, like I mentioned, he actually buffs fire and ice agents, which I find pretty unique considering he is a fire character. And number 3, his skills can smoothly transition into one another, whether it's with his basic attack, his X special, or the follow-up with that, or even changing to another character. Like I mentioned, Lighter is a fire stun character under the Sons of Caldon faction with a stat focus on impact. Again, the higher the impact you have, the more days that you can proc on a target. And if you want to get him to max level, here's all the materials you're going to need. For Lighter's W engine options, his signature Blazing Laurel is going to be your best option. The engine has a flat attack and an impact percentage bump, but its perk, Flowing Flame, upon launching a quick assist or a perfect assist, the equipper's impact increases by 25% for 8 seconds. Now, the reason this is important is because part of Lighter's kit, when switching to him, he can perform a quick assist, which means he just launches an attack right when he hops on the field, which is pretty cool. And again, we'll cover that when we get to the skills portion. When the equipper launches and hits an enemy with a basic attack, it applies Wilt to the target for 30 seconds, stacking up to 20 times. Repeated triggers reset the duration. When any squad member hits an enemy, for every stack of Wilt applied to the target, the crit damage of the ice and fire damage dealt by that attack increases by 1.5%. Only one of this effect can be active at a time in the same squad. Now, what does this mean? When it comes to Lighter's passive ability, it works really well with this because he also has another effect called Elation that he builds up with his passive, so that's why it works really well with this engine, and that gives a variety of buffs, which again, we will talk about when we get to the skills portion of the video because there is a lot to cover with that, but you can only apply it to one target at a time from what I'm understanding here, so you want to be able to take down the target very quickly to apply it to another, or if you are facing a boss, this is going to help out your ice and fire agents a lot. Now, if you don't want to pull for a signature engine, that's totally fine. The other 3 S-rank stun engines will actually work on him, and they perform pretty well. The first being Chingy's signature, the Ice Jade Teapot, giving you a flat attack and an impact percentage bump, and his perk Ringing Melody. With each basic attack, you get an impact percentage stacking buff to yourself, but when you reach max stacks, it gives all your squad members a damage percentage bump. The second one would be Lycon's signature engine, the Restrain, where you get a flat attack and impact percentage bump, and with this perk Binding Chains, with each basic attack, it increases damage and days, stacking up to 5 times, so it works out pretty well. The last S rank would be Coletta's signature Hellfire Gears with a base attack and impact percentage bump again, and with this perk Passionate Construction, while he's off field, you get increased energy regen, and your X special attack has an impact increase of 10%, which can stack up to 2 times, which means 20%. The good thing here is that Lighter's X special actually has a follow-up, so if you have enough energy, you can have this engine proc both of those perks, which is pretty nice. If you don't have any S-rank engines, don't worry, there are a couple of A-rank engines you can use. The first one being 6 Shooter from the Battle Pass. Again, you'll get a base attack and an impact percentage bump. With this perk Fire, you gain a charge every 3 seconds, stacking up to 6 times, and when you launch an X special attack, it'll consume those charges and deal an increased percentage days on the target. And the other one, Steam Oven, it's going to give you a base attack and an energy regen bump, and so with every 10 energy accumulated, you're going to get an impact increase by 2%, and that's going to stack up to 8 times. Again, if you get more copies, that'll help it out. But once the energy is consumed, that bonus is going to last 8 more seconds. For your best drive disc, you're either going to want a 4-piece Shockstar Disco with 2-piece Inferno Metal, or if you want to go for a crit build, do 4-piece Woodpecker Electro with 2-piece Shockstar Disco. With 4-piece Shockstar Disco, it's going to increase your impact, and also any basic attacks, dash attacks, or dodge counters are going to inflict 20% more days to the main target, which is perfect for Lighter. And then with 2-piece Inferno Metal, it's going to increase your fire damage by 10%. Or if you go with the 4-piece Woodpecker Electro for crit, with 2 pieces, you get an automatic crit rate bump. And at 4 pieces, when you land a crit hit with either your basic attack, dodge counter, or X special attack, it's going to increase Lighter's attack by 9% for 6 seconds. So if you get a high enough crit rate, you can pretty much have a permanent attack percentage increase, which is going to be pretty nice. And again, pairing that with 2-piece Shockstar Disco for the increased impact percentage is going to be good overall. For your disc main stats, for your 4th disc, either go with crit rate or crit damage. For your 5th, do fire damage or attack, and for 6th, do impact. And for disc substats, either go with crit damage, crit rate, or attack. For what skills to prioritize upgrading first for Lighter, obviously his core skills are a big one. Next, I would do his X special attack. Then it's kind of a tie between his assist and his basic attack. Then do the chain attack, and then lastly, dodge. And here are all the materials you're going to need to upgrade these skills. Lighter's core passive accelerant has a huge description, but I'm going to break it down real simple for you. A big portion of Lighter's kit is called morale, and again, you can see a bar under his character icon where you gain it. Now, Lighter automatically gains morale over time, but if you expend energy from any other squad member, he can actually recover morale faster, so keep that in mind. When morale reaches 80, the next time Lighter switches into battle, he immediately launches a quick assist. So essentially, when you change to his character, instead of him just standing still, he actually comes in with a Superman punch, which is freaking cool. That's why on his engine, again, the first thing is that when he performs a quick assist, it's going to increase his impact, and that's why I also said you should upgrade his assist on his skills, because he is going to perform that a lot as long as you have morale up. Now, once morale is 80 or higher and you execute the 5th attack of his basic attack, it puts him in the morale burst state. Essentially, this enhances his attacks, allows you to perform a finishing move, and also consumes morale. With every 10 points of morale consumed, Lighter's impact increases by 1% up to a maximum increase of 10% in lasting 6 seconds. And again, every time you upgrade the skill, it's going to increase that percentage. So you can get up to an impact increase of 2% up to 20%. When he's in that morale burst state, he will no longer gain morale. Again, he actually consumes it, and when it's exhausted, he actually follows up with a powerful finishing move. Another benefit of the morale burst state is that when Lighter hits the target, it actually reduces their ice resistance and fire resistance by 15% for 30 seconds. So that means your ice and fire agents can do more damage. And the final benefit of the morale burst state is that when you perform that finishing move, it actually applies the collapse effect on the target, extending the stun duration by 3 seconds. Now note, you can only apply the collapse effect once while the target is stunned. You can't continue applying it. Again, that would be kind of broken, having an enemy be stunned forever if you can keep it up. And again, when you use that powerful finishing move, when he switches off the field, or when his morale runs out, Lighter will leave that morale burst state, and again, you just have to build up morale again to get all those bonuses. Now, talking about his additional ability, Fighting Spirit, if you recall when I talked about the engine, it fits in super well with his additional ability, so you definitely want to either have an attack character or a character that shares the same faction to take advantage of this additional ability. So while Lighter's in that morale burst state and he hits the 5th hit of his basic attack, all squad members gain a stack of elation, stacking up to 20 times and lasting 30 seconds. Repeated triggers reset the duration for each stack of elation, and agent's ice damage and fire damage increases by 1.25%. Now, when you get elation and Lighter's impact is above 170, every additional 10 points of impact will increase the buff effect provided by each stack of elation by an extra 0.25%. Now, that doesn't sound like a lot, but elation can increase the ice damage and fire damage of agents by a maximum of 75%. So if you have a lot of impact, you can get a 75% damage bump for your ice and your fire agents. And what's pretty cool is that when you launch a chain attack, it'll actually refresh the duration of all squad members' elation. So if you're already at max stacks and you're about to lose it, and you stun an enemy and perform a chain attack, it basically refreshes your elation. So you can keep up this damage bump pretty consistently as long as you continue stunning enemies. With this special attack, V-Form Sunrise Uppercut, again, you'll just perform an uppercut that deals fire damage, but if you have the energy, you can actually perform the full distance version of the skill. When you press your X special attack button, again, you'll perform that uppercut again, but while you're in the air, if you have the energy, you can actually press the X special again to perform a powerful follow-up slam. And what's pretty cool is that after using the skill, as long as you tap or hold your basic attack button, you'll lead right into the 4th hit of the basic attack, which is that flurry of punches. Under assist, he does have a defense and an assist follow-up, and again, those two work hand in hand, but the main thing is the quick assist. Again, when his morale is over 80, he's automatically going to perform a quick assist when he switches onto the field, and again, we want the skill higher so we can do more damage with that skill. His basic attack has a long description, but all in all, as long as you're either pressing or holding your basic attack, you're going to lead into the 3rd, 4th, and 5th attack, which again is that flurry of punches, and again, when you let go of it, you'll perform that finishing move, and when you're in the morale burst state, your anti-interrupt level is increased during that 5th hit, and the damage reduction effect is actually increased to 80% as well. Under chain attack, again, he has a chain attack just like every other character. It's going to deal some massive fire damage, but his ultimate, W-Form Crowned Inferno, again, once your decibel meter is up and you have the ultimate, you can actually do a powerful slam on the ground. It does a big AoE, and it does some massive fire damage on top of some daze. I've actually used it and basically instantly stunned a bunch of targets around me, so it's going to be pretty good for that as well. Under dodge, the main thing to note is the dodge counter. Again, you'll dodge, and when you attack, you actually lead yourself into that 5th hit of the basic attack, which is the flurry of punches, so you don't have to do the 1st through the 4th of the basic attack to get to that final setup to where you can perform a finishing move. For Lighter's best team options, if you're a free-to-play player, pairing him with Nicole and Billy with the Sumo Boo is going to be decent. Having Billy on the team is going to activate Lighter's additional ability, and Nicole is decent, but if you play during 1.2 and you got your free copy of Lucy, you can substitute in her there as well. If you wanted a lighter fire team, you could pair him up with Caesar and Soldier 11 with the red Mocus Bang Boo. Lighter providing the fire buffs to Soldier 11 is just going to make her even more powerful. And again, with Caesar, not only do you get the shield, but you also get an attack buff with that as well. For Lighter's ice team, you can pair him up with Sukaku and Ellen with the Shark Boo. At the moment, this is probably your best bet when it comes to activating Lighter's and Ellen's additional abilities, and as we know, Ellen can deal some massive ice damage, so he's going to help her out a lot. But when Miyabi comes out, it might be pretty interesting to test it out. And if you wanted a lighter anomaly team, pair him up with Bernice and Jane with the Rocket Boo, for example. Lighter won't necessarily be able to buff Jane in any way, but being able to buff Bernice is going to be good. Plus, with how fast Bernice burns through her energy with her X special attack, it's going to build up Lighter's morale even faster, which is going to be pretty cool. And again, you could switch out Jane for Miyabi to have the ice anomaly so she could take advantage of that as well. So that could also be a potential anomaly team when she comes out. Lastly, let's talk about Lighter's Mindscape Cinema and whether it's worth getting multiple copies of him. At number 1, we have the Champion. Among the debuffs imposed by Core Passive Accelerant, the Collapse effect increases stun duration by 5 seconds while further reducing ice resistance and fire resistance by 10%. The more powerful finishing move that follows when Lighter's morale is completely exhausted during a startup light punch or jab combo deals 30% increased damage. Again, this is going to be good overall for your ice and fire teams. At number 2, we have Red Scarf. When applying Collapse via Core Passive Accelerant to enemies, the target's stun damage multiplier increases by 25%. The increase to ice and fire damage provided by Elation from additional ability Fighting Spear increases to 120% of the original. This one is extremely good. At level 3 Mercenary Leader, you get a +2 level bump to all of your skills. At number 4, we have Sunglasses. When Lighter is off-field, the energy regen for the on-field character increases by 10%. Upon entering the Morale Burst state, Lighter restores 4 energy for off-field characters. This effect can trigger once every 18 seconds. At level 5 Decision Maker, that provides another +2 level bump to all of his skills. And number 6 Survivor has a very long description, so stick with me. First up, Lighter's morale recovery efficiency gets increased by 200%, which means he can get it back faster. And when Lighter lands a heavy strike with pretty much any one of his attacks, it will trigger the Blazing Impact effect, dealing 250% of attack as fire damage. It can be triggered once every 8 seconds, and if Lighter's impact exceeds 170 points, each additional point will further increase the multiplier of Blazing Impact by 5%, up to a maximum of 500%. And the powerful finishing move that follows up when morale is completely exhausted during that light punch or jab combo will trigger an additional activation of Blazing Impact when hitting an enemy, ignoring the effect's cooldown. I would say either stop at M2 or M6. Obviously with M2 pretty much getting a free stun damage multiplier on top of allowing you to deal increased ice and fire damage from your other agents because Elation has an increased percentage is crazy. And at M6, you're pretty much guaranteed to have morale up all the time, no matter what, considering the recovery efficiency is increased to 200%, and now you have Blazing Impact, which can deal 2 types of massive attack damage, which is just absolutely bonkers, which means Lighter can potentially be a stunner and a DPS character. Overall, I would love to say that Lighter is one of the best stun characters in the game just because of all the buffs he can provide, but only for fire and ice teams. If you don't specifically have a fire or an ice team set up yet, it's not really worth pulling for him at the moment. If you got your hands on Ellen or Bernice when they were available, or if you got your hands on Soldier 11, if you are speccing into these characters, Lighter is going to be a fantastic addition to your team. But let me know what you guys think in the comments. For myself, I have to pass on Lighter. I have to start saving for Miyabi. I was lucky enough to get M1 Yanagi and her engine, so I'm happy with that. I do have fire and ice teams I could set up, but unless I get some polychrome in the account, I'm going to have to pass on them for now. In any event, if you enjoyed this video, be sure to drop a like on it, subscribe to the channel, and turn on that bell next to notifications so you don't miss out on any other Zenless Zone Zero content we're dropping here on the channel. Also, be sure to go follow me on HoyoLab. Again, any content that I make about ZZZ that's posted on YouTube, TikTok, Twitter, basically anywhere is also going to be put on there as well. Plus, they have plenty of contests that you can actually put yourself in to potentially win some extra polychrome, which means you can get some more polls. If you'd like to tune in the streams, we go live here on YouTube and also over on Twitch. That link will be in the description. And if you want to join my community, hop in the Discord. That link will be in the description as well. We have people talking about Zenless Zone Zero on top of a variety of other games, including other gacha games, plus anime, tech, and more. And lastly, if you want to support the channel even more, you can look into becoming a member. Now, if you don't know what a membership is, it's essentially like a Twitch subscription. You're going to gain access to the exclusive emotes, the monthly badges, and early access to all of my long-form videos early. So if you'd like more information, all you have to do is press the join button next to subscribe and that will give you a rundown of all the details you need. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, it's been your boy. We'll catch you in the next one.